Well, hello there, you're watching the press preview. A first look at what is on the front pages as they arrive. Time to see then what is making the headlines with the consultant editor of the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce, and the associate editor of the Daily Mirror, Kevin Maguire. Super to see you both with us for a long time tonight, obviously, just before midnight. Updating you, though, on the front pages first. And amid revolt in the Conservative ranks over allegations of sleaze, the Eye has the headline, PM under siege from his own party. The Telegraph quotes Boris Johnson apparently rueing his actions in the Owen Patterson affair. On a clear road, I crashed the car into a ditch. According to The Guardian, new government proposals could see tens of thousands of poorer pensioners paying the same as their wealthier counterparts for care. The Daily Mirror speaks to a security guard who came to the rescue of cab driver David Perry after the Liverpool taxi explosion. Darren Knowles said Perry told him, "Someone has blown me up." The Metro reports on the jail sentences handed down to 9 Insulate Britain protesters who disrupted rush hour traffic. The Times reports on a new proposal by ministers for Channel crossing migrants to be flown out to Albania. The Financial Times leads with Amazon's announcement that from January it will no longer accept Visa credit cards issued in the UK, though it will still take their debit cards. And The Sun claims to have details concerning the love life of the England footballer Jack Grealish. So let's talk to Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire. And The Telegraph with the quote perhaps of the night, as we heard there, "On a clear road, I crashed the car into a ditch," Andrew. A super own goal, really, from the Prime Minister and his team over the Owen Patterson stuff.
Yeah, this is if I was to use my Catholic analogy, this is like a very public act of contrition from Boris Johnson. This is probably the biggest mistake he's made in terms of party management, in terms of misjudging the mood of the country, misjudging the mood of Parliament, and critically misjudging the mood of his parliamentary party, let alone the party in the country. And when he spoke today in the Commons, the Prime Minister's questions, and there was the vote on whether they should have a new system for second jobs, there was hardly any MPs, Tory MPs, on the Tory benches. They were conspicuously deserted. Now, normally on a Wednesday, the Commons is still pretty busy because we have Prime Minister's questions. It was a way of MPs showing they were voting with their feet. So when he went behind the scenes to the 1922 committee of backbench MPs, he threw himself at their mercy and said it was an open road and he managed to drive the car into a ditch. That's exactly what he did. It's been a hugely damaging experience for the Conservative Party, for him personally. I don't think it will be terminal because I don't think the next election will be won or lost on this. It will be much more to do, I think, with the cost of living and maybe the fact that this Conservative government has put taxation up to levels not seen for 70-odd years. But Boris has had to eat humble pie. It's the closest he's come to saying sorry over all of this. And it's a real lesson learned because some of the MPs who are most furious with him are the ones who got elected at the last election, 2019. Some of those who owe their jobs to him because they're MPs in the so-called red wall seats in the north of England. But that loyalty, that gratitude doesn't last forever. And they are pretty furious that they were ordered to vote for this ridiculous plan to save Owen Patterson, who broke every rule in the MP's book by lobbying for money for private companies and then talking to ministers. So this has been a really bruising experience for Boris, and his leadership is badly damaged, and it will take quite a while for it to recover.
Yeah, the Eye too, Kevin, PM under siege, because the sum total of this ditched car is that, first of all, some of your MPs might lose their lucrative jobs. Secondly, the sleaze tag is once again given to your party. And the polling, I mean, it may well be cost of living, but the polls are certainly not looking as rosy as they were before this all started for your party.
Yeah, I think that's right, Anna. And that crashed car in the ditch, it's going to take a long time for him to get it out, if indeed he can, because I think respect is gone. He's crashed respect. Doesn't mean he's going to be toppled tomorrow, this year, even next year. But they no longer respect him. They saw him as a winner. But the way he's behaved is as a loser because he spent 2 weeks stoking a sleaze row, which was totally unnecessary. And he can apologise like that, but The problem is he set completely the wrong political backdrop at the start of what's going to be an incredibly tough winter and probably year for the Conservative Party. As Andrew just said, taxes are going to go up. Prices are rising, standards of living are going to be squeezed. And when you've got that financial economic crisis, people are feeling it in their pockets, in their bank accounts. And then you have a Sleaze scandal where it looks as if you're defending, indeed he was in a way defending behaviour that other people would consider totally reprehensible. He's really made a rod for his own back and for the back of the Conservative Party. And it was noticeable today, Prime Minister's questions, very few Tory MPs on those benches to cheer him. The Conservative Party whips, the government whips, were having to ring up MPs to get them to go in the chamber, be there for debates. They didn't want to do it. There was a queue of MPs outside his office door in the House of Commons, clearly wanting to complain. And then at the 1922 committee, that's the meeting of backbenchers, he's begging for their forgiveness. Whether he can get it or not is an open question, but he's just scored the most spectacular own goal, certainly since 2010. I think probably the only comparison you could possibly make is the general election in 2007. That never was, when Gordon Brown toyed with it, then didn't call for it.
Yes, and the Telegraph reminding us that actually for the first time he accepted that Owen Patterson, the former Tory MP, had broken lobbying rules. Is it any excuse for him that from the liaison committee this afternoon, it was quite clear that he had so much sympathy for Mr. Patterson that may well have been what was driving his decision-making on this?
Yeah, look, I wrote about this extensively in the Mail last week, and I got really good background advice on what was going on here. Look, the report into Owen Patterson's conduct was 179 pages. He's the Prime Minister. He can't read everything, but he could have read a summary, or he could have asked some very trusted lieutenants, tell me what really happened. But he relied on Jacob Rees-Mogg, the leader of the Commons, the chief whip, a man called Mark Spencer, to tell him. They said that he'd been stitched up by the Parliamentary Commissioner, Catherine Stone. Oh, yes, that's the woman who stitched me up over my holiday. Where was it, the Maldives or Mauritius? The one he didn't pay for. Not saying he should pay for them. Tony Blair never paid for his holidays, and they were always very lucrative. But so he was too easy to accept that Owen Patterson hadn't broken the rules, too easy to blame the Parliamentary Commissioner, who he obviously thinks is some lefty, which he may be, but also, as Jacob Rees-Mogg said, he was blinded by the fact Owen Patterson's wife had taken her own life and he thought the man had suffered enough. Yes, he has suffered a lot. It's a terrible thing, suicide. It's been awful for Owen and his family, but that didn't change the fact he'd made an egregious breach of the rules. That's what that committee said, an egregious breach of the rules. There were 14 members of that committee, 7 of them MPs, 7 of them lay members. They all agreed. One Tory MP recused himself, but they all agreed he'd broken the rules. So you can't then change the entire system of regulating the Commons to protect an MP who'd flipping broken the rules.
I think the problem, though, here, Anna, is he breaks the rules himself so often, Boris Johnson. He revels in breaking the rules. He's the rule breaker. He tried to make it part of his appeal. And I think that's why he instinctively was against the authority of the Standards Commissioner. I think it's unfair, actually, of Andrew, characteristically unfair, perhaps, to do nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Catherine Stone, the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner, might be a bit of a lefty. Labour MPs who've been on the end of a report, including Keith Vaz, don't think that. Look, she is a very skilled, dedicated public servant who goes after the truth. And there are more Tory MPs than Labour MPs at the moment. So you're going to get more of them anyway, just statistically. If more of them have got outside interests, which they have, you'll pick up more of them that way too. Like she does a job.
Yeah,
look,
listen, I wouldn't ever
apologise.
Listen, I wouldn't mention Keith Vaz in the same sentence of somebody fighting against natural justice. Keith Vaz was always being done by the Commons. And was it Keith Vaz who got done by the Parliamentary Commissioner, or was it the washing machine salesman that he also posed as? What was his name?
Jim, the washing machine salesman.
Jim, the washing machine salesman, who was consorting with male prostitutes and apparently hard drugs as well. Not exactly because...
Right, guys, I'm going to move on. We've got so much to pack in tonight. Honestly, your list is too long to continue, if you don't mind.
Right.
I want to move on to what else happened at the Liaison Committee, which is in the Metro, which is quite a lot about violence against women and girls, not least from the woman who had accused Boris Johnson's father. Who wants to pick that one up?
Yeah, well, I will. Caroline Noakes, who didn't directly raise it, but she did challenge the Prime Minister on whether there is a need for stronger, new, tougher laws to protect women from all sorts of violence and intimidation. The Prime Minister resisted that, so it should be the enforcement of existing laws. But there is no doubt, and she chairs the Women's Committee in the House of Commons. She's made these allegations against Stanley Johnson that he inappropriately touched her, slapped her bottom, and made a joke about her Romsey constituency. Well, two other journalists have come forward and made allegations too. One from the New Statesman, that she was groped 2019, and a third journalist said he was very handsy. Now, he said, in the interest of fairness, Stanley Johnson, that he had no recollection of Caroline Noakes. The New Statesman journalist, he would have said he doesn't recollect the moment, and we don't know about the third one. But this is incredibly embarrassing for the Prime Minister, who, let's not forget, had a groping allegation against himself made by another journalist, Charlotte Edwards, which was just dismissed by Number 10 at the time. It's very unseemly, but the real point here, and I think Caroline Noakes made it pretty forcefully and very, very fairly, is for too long women have had to put up with inappropriate behaviour from some men, and it's time it stops. And maybe if it was more of a crime, if the authorities got involved, and fewer men will behave like that.
Yeah, we're running over. I've got so much to pack in. I do apologise for cutting you both off this evening. Plenty more still to come. We'll talk about inflation, also new advice related to children's COVID jabs. Lots more still to come. Welcome back. You're watching the press preview. With me now, Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire. Welcome back to both of you. Quick one. We've got loads to back in. Inflation, Kevin, 4.2%, highest in 10 years.
No, absolutely short from 3.1%. It's why the Sleaze row actually matters, because people are going to really feel this, be hit in the pocket. It's rising fuel prices primarily. But who's getting pay rises more than that? Nurses got 3%. That's 4.2% inflation. That is going to mean for many people an actual real drop in their living standards. And when taxes go up, national insurance next year, income tax thresholds frozen. This is why there is going to be a backlash against the government, because it may go even higher than 4.2%.
And Daily Mail leading on this too. £2,000, the paper says, cost of living shock, the grim forecast for a hike in your bills as inflation. Why are you laughing? Oh, I see why you're laughing.
Let me see that. Look at the top. Look at the top.
Who's that?
It's Andrew. Look at that. What the hell, body?
Listen, I'm
trying to see his muscles with my magnifying glass.
I think it says I've got a six-pack. I think it's more like a two-pack.
Is that photoshopped? Is that actually you?
No, it is not photoshopped. Kevin's just jealous.
You haven't got a six-pack. You've got a party 7. I mean...
What, dare we ask what you're doing?
This is going to cause a stir in the morning when people have their snap, crackle and pop in the morning and see my half-naked body in the newspaper.
Yeah, and well,
news agents are going to have to put the Mail on the top shelf.
No, then Mail will be sold out. There'll be a stampede. There'll be a stampede.
And Andrew, the Mail making its own news because the editor is changing, we hear.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that, Anna. Yes, Geordie Greig is going after 3 years. He's being replaced by Ted Verity, who's editor of the Mail on Sunday. He's going to be editor-in-chief of both titles. He's a very fine journalist. And we wish Geordie Greig very well. He's had 3 great years. He's made it Paper of the Year 3 times, I think. and he's been a great campaigner, and he'll move on to other great pastures new. They didn't ask me to be his replacement, Anna, just in case you wondered.
Well, they might now after that photograph, I suppose.
No, and for the record,
Certainly didn't ask Kevin Maguire.
Yeah.
Just if you don't mind, we'll just do the final story, which was in the Daily Telegraph, which we teased. Children told to wait 3 months after COVID to get a jab. Children who've had COVID should wait 3 months to be vaccinated. Now, certainly some teenagers had already been told this. Andrew, just in 10 seconds, tell us more.
Yeah, it will cause a stir because they're saying if 12 to 15-year-olds have had COVID, don't have the vaccine for 3 months because of that very, very slim outside chance it could cause some minor effect to the heart, but very minimal risk.
Andrew, six-pack, Pierce and Kevin Maguire, thank you both. See you soon.